the massacre with the Saxons at the peace conference. And he buried them in a giant circular monument known as the Grave Monuments of the Soldiers, Monument to Millware. It's still on the map. Right, here on a 1980 Ordnance Survey map, you've got the Monument to Millware, this Monument of the Soldiers of the military on Money de Gaia, Fortress Mountain. We're going there. Now, in 1983, a mere 3 years later, we've got an addition to the maps in the form of a motorway, but up on Money de Gaia, here, all right, can you focus in? We've lost the Monument to Millware. So we've gained a motorway and we've lost the most ancient and precious of the monuments. This is the Monument of the Soldiers. This is it, here. This is it. And you can see the whole of the bloody kingdom from here, just about. You can't see up the valleys, but you can see the whole bloody kingdom from this point. And it's said to be at Kayakaradok. The big circle, though. You can trace it out and walk around it.
Dead bodies.
Well, there's lumps and mounds here, and this is the perimeter of it here. You can see the mounds, the perimeter of it, and it walks around here.
Geoffrey of Monmouth said that the circular monument of the soldiers, built in about the 5th century AD, was Stonehenge, but this is clearly one of Geoffrey's many confusions. For Alan Wilson, then, this site, taken together with other evidence, pointed to the location of Kayakaradok here in Moganug.
So we've got St. Peter's Church at Kayakaradok, and we've got Monument to Millware at Kayakaradok. The highest part of this mountain, there's a grave mound still named Toin Caradog, the grave mound of Caradog. That's what it says. Close to St. Peter's Church and close to the ruins of ancient towers and walls of a castle, a Kaya, there is a giant ditch and mound, boat-shaped circle, let's call it, in the ground. So we have a giant circle at Kayakaradok. We've got St. Peter's Church at Kayakaradok. We've got the Monument to Millware at Kayakaradok. And we got Toin Caradog at Kayakaradok. And we actually have a castle, a Kaya, or the ruins of it. All the names up here are evocative. The Ridge of the Soldiers, the Throne of the Knights, outpost forts defending the mountain, and so on. This is the edge of it. You trace the mound there. It is there. Okay. Seen it? Most vital identification in Britain. We began with 2 accounts from the ancient records of the secret burial of a king in a mummified form. We now have 10 accounts, most of them from the 6th century AD, contemporary with the death of King Arthur. These accounts actually name the mummified king who was wrapped in a leather bag and brought to this river for burial in a secret cave. His name was Arthur, and he's so named in the manuscripts. In the life of Illtyd and in Nennius, there's a strange story of a burial. A ship arrives at a river which is named the Iweni River. Well, it's easy to find the Iweni River. We've got a story of a ship coming in from the sea, and it bears the body of an embalmed or mummified man. It says, oh, it arrives at the mouth of the Iweni River. Well, this is the Iweni River. It runs up in this area to the mountain. It's in the area of Gwyer. Well, this is Gwyer, Ogger, right? It mentions Loingarth and Lingarth. It means smooth ridges. Well, the smooth ridges are the great sand dunes that are there. And runners used to use them, long-distance runners, to train themselves up and down the sand dunes in modern times. It says, oh, St. Illtyd is sitting at a cave mouth. He comes to the boat. 2 eminent people are with this corpse. They deliver the corpse, telling him the name of the person who is dead and wrapped up. And what happens is that St. Illtyd is sitting at his cave. And the ship arrives, and there are eminent people in this boat that puts out from it, and they've got the body of a dead man, who was really some big guy. They bring it to Illtyd, swear him to secrecy, and he buries the corpse in the cave. Now, the cave exists, it's still there. Down there, my colleague will tell you about it, that's the woods down there, you see it on that hill? And in that woods down there, that's the Coidamusta Woods where Arthur was put in the cave, first burial place. Go to the Coidamusta Woods, there is a cave in a cliff. Here are the Coidamusta Woods, the woods of mystery, where the cave of St. Illtyd is. This is where Illtyd sat and where he received the body in 579 AD. secret burial took place in the cave in these woods.
Now there exists in Wales at least 5 folk tales describing Arthur as lying asleep in a cave or under a mountain with 1,000 of his soldiers, awaiting the day when their help will be required by the inhabitants of Britain. But more importantly, according to the Welsh genealogies, St. Illtyd and King Arthur are first cousins.
So we've got an account of a secret burial in Glamorgan at the very time that King Arthur, who's the only senior member of the royal clan who goes missing, is recorded as being concealed in his burial. And we've got his first cousin doing the burying in this cave.
The cave was actually sealed up until about, I think it was 1886. A man from Cardiff went down there and he got a local quarryman and they put teeny bits of dynamite in and they blew the opening out because stalagmite and stalactite had flowed down, not a lot of it, but it had sealed all the stones together. So he blew it open and went in. And there is a grave pit inside the cave.
Duck your head down, because you have to keep down coming in, you know. Come on, duck down. Keep down here, I'm only down here until I tell you. Right? Come on down. Come on through. Keep your heads down. Right, you can come through another yard or two. Come through another yard or two. Now, here is the grave pit. You can see the squared off ends, square that end, squared right on there, very, very straight and square this side, and another square end that end. It's about 3.5, 4 feet wide, 3.5, 4 feet deep, and right across the cave about 11 feet long. Now that's the grave pit, exactly as described in the Life of St. Illtyd. The grave in the cave. It runs east to west, which is Christian fashion, east to west. Here we have something which is nothing short of miraculous, an amazing find.
Two young men from the Cardigan College, it's a film college.
Okay.
They went along and they were filming in this cave, filming the grave pit. Above the thing, they panned across the side of the wall of the cave. And it's not until you get back and you look at it and say, oh, there's writing there. And it's covered with stalagmite, you see, so again...
It's very old.
It's very old.
So what did it say?
It's in the Welsh ancient British Coleman alphabet, and it says, this is the place of the bier of the highest ruler.
And he's taken from that woods and he's brought to Caer Caradog, because two histories say that King Arthur is at Caer Caradog.
One of the two accounts, one's in Illtyd and one's in the Marbles of Britain in Nennius, says how the body is later taken out to a church and placed near or in this church.
Everything is pointing here, to this area. So the Uther Pendragon in the giant circle, because in the giant circle we find a grave mound. Uther Pendragon is in the giant circle at Caer Caradog. St. Illtyd is the undertaker, does the burying. St. Illtyd is the first cousin of King Arthur, King Arthur II. Add to this another story. We have a story of visitors coming from Brittany to visit the cave of Arthur, the grave of Arthur. They land on the coast, which is a coast of cliffs. Well, from Cardiff to the Owenny is 35 miles of cliffs, steep ones. And they say how there's a little inlet, a little dell, a little dingle, a valley, a tiny valley, very green, beautiful, little stream running down it. They come ashore there, and on the one cliff on the one side is an ancient church, and the other is a fortress. On the one side we have Caer Eglwys, ancient church, and the other side we have the relics and ruins of a major fortress. Caer Eglwys is known to be the grave of King Ceri Longsword, who succeeded Caradog I to fight the Romans around the year 51 to 80 AD. These people land at this place, they come inland, they go all along Wooded Valley, which is still there between Llantryston and Llanharan. They come to a long mountain. This is a long sausage-shaped mountain. There is a little valley let into the mountain. There is a little valley let into the mountain. A stream runs down it. And it's so steep they have to get off their horses and lead them up the slope to get to the top, to the grave of Arthur. And you'll still see people doing that today when they ride their horses around this mountain. And they are smack on target.
We reasoned where this church would be, because just up above, a straight line up there above the woods, and there's the ruin of St. Peter's Church. So one account then again says, your stone there became a mystery. So we say, hey, there's a stone, you know, we got to look for this. So we started rooting about. This church had been abandoned about turn of the century, 1900-ish.
Okay.
So we got hold of the Church of Wales and we said, do you want to sell it? And they said yes. So we bought it. So we now owned it, so we could root about quite free from any hindrance. And we did find a stone.
And what did the stone say?
It's actually, either it's nonsense or it's lousy Latin. It says Rex Artorius Fili Mavrici, which would be...
King Arthur?
Yeah, but it should say Artorius Rex in good Latin. But we don't know who carved it. Perhaps it was some soldier or idiot who didn't know what he's doing.
So this is a stone, and it does have carved lettering on it. And you can make them out there. It runs down to here and here.
Although this was found long before the excavation in 1990, Professor Talbot, the archaeologist, actually found the niche in the wall where the stone
Could have been.
appears to have been.
So there you go. Well, it's very similar in shape to the Magna Cum stone down at Nevern. The lettering is pretty close to lettering. It's the same as lettering on other 6th century stones.
Let's come on to the excavation in 1990. Now, tell us first, Alan, about John Carr, because I think he wrote an article about the church that you mentioned earlier that you bought, trying to claim it was Norman. Is that right?
Yeah,
12th
what happened, John Carr, they were going to appoint a head of Cadw, Welsh heritage, really. And I didn't get an interview. But John Carr, from Nottingham in England, knowing nothing about Welsh history, he got the job.
Right.
And it's a hopeless appointment. He's not a historian for a start. He shouldn't have been given the bloody job, but he got the job. He worked 21 years for Thompson Press, so work it out. Anyway, he suddenly, around before Christmas of 1990s, right?
1990.
Maybe 89, 90. He's right this article.
Yeah.
And it played in the press, and it just simply said, St. Peter's Supermontum Church, is a 12th century Norman building. Well, people are ringing us up and saying, what's this about? What's this one column about St. Peter's being...
And you'd already declared it to be the oldest church in Europe.
Well, what it would mean is that the Welsh triads would be wrong, because they nominate it as the most important church in the UK twice. The land of charters would be wrong. The history would be wrong, because King Lairug, Alathurus, could not have renovated it around the year 160. Emrys Wedig and his mother could not have been living there when they met the ambassadors of Vortigern around 450. That massive histories would be wrong. Everything would be wrong if that church is not there. It's just that the man was ignorant to the nth degree on history.
But do you think there's an ulterior motive why he's writing that article then?
Oh, yeah.
Which is what?
Oh, well, they simply don't want us proving that church is the place of Arthur or anything else. They don't. I mean, you've got an Englishman, he's coming to Wales, he knows bugger all about Welsh history, use the word. And he's obviously out of his depth. He's feeling out of his depth because people are constantly talking about us, and he doesn't know what the hell to say.
Now, you applied for permission to dig up this site in February 1990.
That's right.
And the authorities were supposed to give 7 weeks to respond.
Yeah, they have 7 weeks maximum. They can tell you the next day if yes or no.
Right.
They took 24, 25 weeks.
Right. And so you didn't start the dig until late summer because of that?
Yeah, we had angry meetings with members of Parliament about it. What the hell's going on? They were trying to stop us doing the dig. Didn't want to be proved wrong. We excavated the church in 1990, and we hired a whacking big marquee tent, 100 odd feet long, 30 feet wide, and we put this over the church. Put the entire thing under wraps. Hired some lighting. Got a generator up there to run that. Put a fridge up there for beer. And but you see, archaeologists are a bit primitive. They go out and it's pouring with rain and they're working in the rain. All they can do is stick a tent over it. You know? But then it makes sense, you know? And we did manage. We were then told, oh, you can't just cut a trench to establish the age, you must excavate the entire church. We haven't got the bloody money for that, you know? But hundreds of local people turned up. Masses of them. Couldn't cope with them. And so we did start going down. We found there had been 7 various stages of building. We were hit with the excavation in 1990 by a 100-mile-an-hour gale, can you believe it? All the papers went up. We had 3 little tents, one for an office, one for tools, and one for people to sleep in at night. they were miles away. People would come in and bring in papers they'd found in the field to us, you know, notes on the excavation, 5-10 miles away, you know.
And this is where you found the King Arthur burial cross.
Yeah, the cross is there.
Just tell us about the cross, Alan. And
Richard Melbourne found it.
Richard Melbourne. Was he an archaeologist?
No, he's one of the diggers.
One of the diggers.
And
okay.
he found it. And
It's just here on the table.
it's on there. Yeah, you want to
take
see it?
Can I touch it with my hand now, or do you
Yeah,
rather
you
not?
can touch it with your hand if you like.
Right.
It's
Okay. So tell us, Alan, what it's made from, because you've had it independently, scientifically
we asked-
analysed.
Yeah, we wrote to the National Museum of Wales and said, will you analyse it for us? No, if we're supposed to be forgers, we're not going to do that, are we?
Yeah.
We asked them to analyse it. They refused to analyse it. Some English archaeologists there refused to analyse it, okay?
But it's electrum, which is 79% silver, I believe.
Yeah, so we took it to the largest and most reputable company in this sort of business who do all the work for the oil companies and everybody else. And they've got all the systems there, and they have all the necessary tables and records historically, which show what the mix of various impurities would be in certain eras. You follow me?
Sure.
And they've tested it for us.
And tell us what the inscription on the front is.
Well, it says Artorius. And there's a man on a horse. You can pick him out in the middle.
Oh, in the middle there.
That's Arthur, I suppose.
On this cross
this,
here, that's
yeah.
that's King Arthur. Yeah.
It should be.
Is that King Arthur
Well,
1
we
or
think it should be, but it doesn't say it is.
is it King Arthur 1 or 2 though?
2.
King Arthur 2.
Yeah. But we got 5 feet down the shaft to try and get into the crypt, you see, 5.5 feet. And Pete Summer and and we got little rods of steel, which we could buy, steel rods. We tapped them down with a mallet, and they all went down to the same level. We found an area under 2 flat slabs that were about 6 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, and they were identical, but no markings on them. Like the double door of it, you know, you go through a double door. And Alan Wishart, one of the archaeologists, excavated this, and we found the soil there. All the soil on the mountain is very black, heavy soil. But the soil in this area, about 5 feet by 5 feet, was light sandy stuff. It had been brought from somewhere else, you know? And he got down about 5.5 feet when the storm hit. So a friend named Pete Summer and myself got down. We got some steel rods and we poked them down and we tapped them with a mallet. And they all went down the same depth, about 2.5 feet. And they were hitting a flat surface, which sounded like a stone, you know. So we think there's a slab stone. We believe there's a crypt there, because this shaft is not there for nothing.
Which you think...
There's a shaft, there's clearly a shaft about 5 feet by 5 feet.
So you think the body of King Arthur's in there?
Could be.
Is that King Arthur 1 or 2?
Be 2.
King Arthur 2, right, okay.
King Arthur 1's in Warwick.
But because the dig was wrecked, you'd run out of money, had you?
Yeah,
so you couldn't actually excavate the rest of it. I mean, is that not... Has no one been back there since?
It was wrecked. There were huge storms. It was battered to pieces. We put a 6-foot fence around it, which you can legally entitled to do, as long as it's within 1 yard of the walls, you see. And we put a lovely steel gate on it, and that's been torn down and removed.
Been torn down and removed?
Aye.
Right. What, by vandals or?
Farmer,
right, okay. Yeah.
And certainly there's a lot up on that hill, hell of a lot. Now in this church is a stone of King Ethael. Ethael was a brother of Morgan, and jointly Morgan and Ethael succeeded Arthur II. The stone of Ethael also names Illtyd, the first cousin of Arthur, and it also names on the bottom Arthmael. Arthmael, Iron Bear, is the normal calling of Arthur II. There are 2 other stones here. One is St. Samson. St. Samson is the son of Anna. Anna was a daughter of King Moirig. Therefore, Samson is a nephew of King Arthur because Anna and Arthur are brother and sister. And another stone names are King Howell and his son King Rhys. And that is probably of the 7th century, around 750. Again, descendants of Morgan and Ethel. So you've got descendants of Arthur here, and you've got Arthur named on a stone. And that's quite significant. We've come here because a stone was found in this castle. It's an ancient 6th century stone, and there are 4 names upon it. It says how King Arthmael, Iron Bear, who was Arthur II, is granting land to 3 people for religious purposes, presumably. One is Nertat. Nertat is a daughter of Brocken of Brecon, who's Arthur's first cousin. Another is Philly the Bishop, who is Ufelwyn, a bishop of Llandaff. And another one is Glwys, who is either Glwys Cernew, a father of King Gwyntlew, and Arthur arranged Gwynthlew's marriage to a daughter of Brocken, or alternatively, he's Glwys, a brother of St. Cadwch, and a son of Gwyntlew. Either way, all the characters on the stone are all genuine, historical 6th century characters. They all fit.
Wilson and Blackett have also located the site of the Battle of Baden and the battles of Camlan and Longbourth. These were located simply by translating Welsh place names on publicly available maps of Britain.
One thing that could not be destroyed was the remains of a huge land reclamation scheme mentioned in the life of St Genovasius. This massive engineering feat confirmed South Wales as the home of Arthur.
Genovasius is a Breton monk who works with 2,004 other monks building dikes. He was building dikes under the supervision of St Ildid. St Ildid